This is the story of the phantom hitchhiker. Late one night, a young girl named Heather was driving home after spending the day in the city with her friends. Heather lived in a rural area, and the drive home took about an hour, so long as the weather permitted. It wasn't long after leaving the city, Heather realized she had forgotten to get gas. But instead of turning around to fill up her tank, she decided she'd drive conservatively, without running the heater or the radio, and trying her best not to over-accelerate. She figured if she did this, she'd have enough gas to make it home. Heather continued driving, trying her best to conserve what little gas she had, and as she drove, she noticed something come into view. A man dressed in black with dark hair was standing on the side of the road, sticking his thumb out towards the road. His skin was so white that her headlights nearly reflected off his face. Heather thought it was odd, as she had never seen a hitchhiker on the road out there before. Most of the people who lived in the area had no need to hitchhike, as they had cars. She sped past the man, avoiding eye contact. There was no way she was picking him up while driving by herself. Heather continued driving through the thick woods, humming to herself and drumming the steering wheel to help dim the silence, since she couldn't turn on the radio. She noticed the small yellow gas light on her dash flick on. Looking at her gas gauge, she saw it was running quite low. This made her heart race, and she realized that maybe her plan of driving conservatively to save her gas hadn't really been the best idea. The night was dark and it was beginning to get foggy, so she switched on her fog lights. With the extra light, something came into view. Heather was shocked to see it was another hitchhiker who looked eerily similar to the first one she'd seen. Dark hair, pale skin, and black clothing. As she drove past him, she tried her best to keep her eyes on the road, but the similarity in features of both men was too hard not to notice, and she couldn't help but look. The man's stone-cold eyes were fixed into a glare, and he smiled sinisterly at Heather. Heather was so frightened by the man, she instinctively pressed her foot to the gas, speeding up from 50 miles an hour to 80 in a matter of seconds. After she passed the creepy man, she frantically looked at her gas gauge, remembering how low it had been. She cursed under her breath as she noticed the rapid acceleration had certainly made the gas lower. Taking a deep breath, Heather slowly eased off the gas and started humming to herself again, this time in an effort to calm herself down. She was coming up to a steep hill that she usually dreaded in the wintertime. Thankfully, on this summer evening there was no snow. However, steep hills mean more accelerating. She went up the hill, trying hard not to accelerate too much. As she approached the top of the hill, she lost her breath and nearly screamed. Climbing over the hill had brought into view another hitchhiker. Only this time, Heather was certain this hitchhiker and the other two hitchhikers she had seen were one and the same. His same white skin and cold stare, and that horrid smile. Once again, Heather over-accelerated to get away from the man. Forgetting how low her gas had been, she sped down the road, continuing to accelerate and trying to get as far away from the man as possible. Home was only about another 20 minutes away, and Heather continued to speed down the road. 10 minutes into her maniacal speeding, Heather saw in the distance a dark figure with a glaring white face, and his arm sticking out towards the road, protruding his thumb. Heather screamed at the sight of the hitchhiker once again, and as her car began to slow down and come to a complete stop, Heather screamed her last.